So hello everyone and welcome to today's Geeks of Thursday session. So for maybe those who it's their first time, this is like our logo here and the tagline, which is let the commit speak. So what is Geeks Talk Thursday? It's a community for developers to learn, engage, and share knowledge. So we have a website, which is that one, geeksofthursday.co.ke, made with love from AppsLab.ke. So what we do every Thursday, we have intro to development talks, we have code labs, fireside chats, productivity, we have product review and launching, and maybe we have talks about open source. Maybe you have an open source project that you want guys to check on or maybe collaborate on. So this is the place. Yeah, so we do this every Thursday, but we are looking into changing the format a bit. So these sessions, everyone can, in case you have like a session that you feel like I need this session covered or I need this addressed, you can always feel free to reach out to me or Emmanuel, who is in the call. So we can maybe plan on the sessions and maybe plan on the speakers also. Yeah, so for these sessions, they cut across, that is web, Android, and also things to do with developer tools and maybe productivity talks. We have had sessions where we discuss software pricing, how to maybe write an SRS, and how to plan for projects. Such sessions, of which we do share them from experiences, because we have speakers who have been like developing for quite some time, and those who are also maybe starting out, maybe they would like to share the experience. So the talks are that versatile. We are not like locked to a particular domain. So we also have other activities which we usually share with our members every Thursday. So the first one is Fun Friday by Poddy, which happens every Friday not every Friday, it's a bi-weekly event, Friday from 4 to 5. We also have a blog where in case you want to write or in case you want to read, we have the Geeks of Thursday. We also have Android 254 Open Bar, which happens every Friday from 7:30 to 11, which is just a chat on Telegram where we have a guest, and we also have like, you can ask questions, you can also like share your apps, you can also share anything that you're working on for maybe the community to review. Another event is the Atlassian community events, which happens monthly. So now, because they are not like no physical meetups, they usually happen like virtually through Zoom, just like as we're doing here. And lastly, it's the Atlassian Community Open Bar, similar to the Android 254, but it happens on Sunday, 8 p.m. So we always record these sessions and upload them on YouTube. So you can find us on YouTube as Geeks of Thursday. GitHub, we have an organization which is called Geeks Talk. And Slack, we have a Slack channel, but it's not that active, but that is the Slack URL. Yes, so moderator was supposed to be Emmanuel, but I stood up both as the moderator and the speaker. So on the speaker, I'm Harun Wangereka, Android developer at AppsLab. So that is my Twitter handle. You can also reach out to Emmanuel, that is his Twitter handle. So in case you have any question, you can feel free to ask during the session. You can feel free either ask on chat, or I'll look on the question on the chat later on after I'm done with the session. Or maybe you can unmute yourself and maybe just ask the question. So today we're going to cover a very interesting topic, which is releasing applications on Google Play Store. So by apps, we have Android apps mostly, and maybe for those who are doing Flutter, you can also release Flutter apps on Play Store. So that is going to be our topic today. And I'll switch to my slides. Yes. So in between the slides, I'll be going to show you a couple of things on Play Console, maybe as we go along. But feel free to ask anything. As I said, I'm Harun Wangereka. And yes, so We have over 1 billion monthly active users on Google Play. This is maybe as per last year, but maybe the numbers can be maybe either increased or maybe reduced. I'm not quite sure, but that is the current number. We have like 1 billion active users, and Google Play is one of the largest platforms for distributing and promoting Android apps, and also selling, for those who like to publish apps for selling. So with that, I'm going to take you through how to maybe release your application to the Play Store. That is Google Play Store. We have App Store for iOS application, and we have Google Play for Android applications. But before release, there is maybe a couple of things I usually do at Apps Lab. Maybe before, like, that is before I release any application, be it a client application or be it an internal application, is what we call preparing an app for release. So I have like a kind of a checklist which I have to do to prepare my application for release, maybe, and make sure like when you release, everything goes smoothly. So one of them, we have analytics. And my so for analytics is you want to monitor like how your app is faring. Maybe that is performance, and that is maybe how users are using your application. So this is like something you like to add your application before you release it to maybe the public, because once you release to Play Store, it will be available to all users depending on the countries that you have selected. So I usually find it very important to incorporate analytics. I'm going to show you like the analytics maybe console on Firebase. So, but this is like a thing I usually recommend. Just add analytics. It will help you like get more insights on how your app is being used. Maybe you can have, so for analytics, you can even like you can even like add analytics per screen, and maybe say we have analytics for login screen. Let's say you have analytics for the home screen and the settings screen. And over time, you can even know like, yeah, people are not using this setting screen. Maybe we can do something to promote this screen, or kind of this, something of the sort. So that is how like your analytics like help you. Another thing I usually on the checklist is minification or shrink of resources. And this is very important because at times you might be developing an Android app, and once you like build for the first time after you are ready to release, you can find like the size is around 8 MB or maybe even 10 MB or higher. But inside your application, we have like resources. We have like resources that are not being used by your application. We also have other things like code that is not being used. Maybe you wrote a method and forgot to remove it. We also have such kind of code which is called like dead code, and you also have like other resources that are not being used. So once you like enable minification and shrink of resources, it helps reduce your APK size from, let's say, that 10 on 8 MB to something to even below 2 MB, if it is like a very simple application. So, and maybe how do you enable like these things? So if you're in Android, this is an Android, we have these two things. We have minify enabled, and we have shrink resources. Those are like two properties. So for debug builds, debug is the one that you actively use, maybe once you're like testing out. So I usually like recommend just disable it, because once you enable them, it makes like the process of build become a bit longer, since like it has like to minify the resources and shrink the resources. So for release, as you can see, you just enable them by just saying minify enable to true and shrink resources to true. So once you do this, it like reduces your app by default from, that is 4 MB, from 8 MB to like half, without you having to do like anything extra else. But so for this, once you like enable like minify enable, it enables what we call, previously it was called ProGuard, but now we use something we call arrayed. So once you like enable this, you have to like do other extra steps to like solve some issues, because what it does, what minify does, it's like it like, let's say you have a class user, it will just rename that class to class A, and you have a variable name, it will just rename that variable to variable A, AA or BB, CC. So you'll find like once you like enable minify, you'll find like once you try to reverse engineer the app, someone cannot even like do, let's say you have a food ordering application and someone tries to like reverse engineer it. So you'll find like, yes, someone cannot like be able to read your code and know what exactly are you trying to do, because everything will be renamed to AA, BB, CC without like, we don't have like a particular order, so like no one can be able to predict, because maybe they can see maybe here we have AA, BB, CC, and then they predict the next variable is going to be DD. But that's not how, it's very random and no one can be able to predict it. So once you like enable it, you have like dependencies where you add just below like this in your Gradle file, you have where you add like the dependencies. So, and libraries. So different libraries have different R8 rules. So because that is the one being used now, so different libraries have different R8 rules. So you have to counter check with each library. Does it require like a special rule for you to add in your progad file? If it does, make sure like you add those rules just to make sure that everything runs on smoothly. So I'll just show you an example of how these rules look like in an application. As yeah. So because once like you enable everything, it renames even maybe some of the key things that the library was using. And you have to ensure like nothing is, maybe everything works as expected. So I just want to show you an example of these rules and how they look like. So the rules are usually stored in a file called progarules.pro. And so I hope you can see. Let me just try. Yes, so this is how you write those rules. We can have like keep class Android support version 7 widget, and then search view, and then don't warn. So don't warn is just saying like you don't want, once you're doing a build, you don't want to be given warnings about this kind of errors. We have annotations, parameters are null by default, and that. And then we have this keep class, which is the one most of the times people use it mostly. So as you can see, I'm keeping class. This is like a package which is called model. So I'm telling Progad to keep all classes in that model. So because you'll find like, let's say you have, I'll use my example of the user model. So at times once you rename like a user model to, let's say it will rename, we have a user model which has two properties, name and age. So what Progad or array does, it will rename those properties to class A, and then we'll have an string AA, and then integer BB. So, and in your model classes, most of the times is when you are like using them in, let's say, to pass a response from the server or maybe from a network to your application. And once you're doing like that kind of a serialization, you know, like either JSON or whatever converter that you are using is very like strict to, it's very strict to these names. It must expect like if you are naming it as name, it must expect it to find it as name. So once you like do a release build with minify enabled and it finds it as AA, so you get a crash. So to avoid such scenarios, that's why you can keep like a whole package of your models to make sure that they are not renamed. So that is an example of these rules. You can have more depending on the libraries that you are using. So I usually like do like have to learn like a release build and see like does it run as I expect, so that you are not just releasing the application and then you have like the app crashing for the user since you enabled at 8. So back to the slides. So that is all about enabling minification and shrink of resources. That is how you do it, plus a couple of those rules. Then we have reducing your APK stroke bundle size. So once you're like releasing your application, the biggest thing, especially for the African market, guys look at when installing your app. If your app is more than 5 MB, at times people do not like install that app. So you have to like make sure like your app is that size that users can download and install in the apps. And another thing why I'll add this to a checklist is because you'll find like most users do not have like storage in their phones. So in case your app is the one like on Google Play, you'll have to be told and install these apps to save space. So you'll find like users will not install your app in case they find this themselves in that kind of a scenario. So it is always recommended, just make sure like you reduce your APK size to the minimum, the least possible you can achieve. So ways of reducing, we have, this is one of them. And you also have like, once you're releasing, we have like resources in your, maybe project files, etc. You have images that you may have added to the project and you're not needing them. So you have to counter check on all the images, drawable resources, etc., unused code, and maybe just in case you have any that you're not using, make sure that you reduce them, just to make sure that your app is not like this bloated with a lot of images or with a lot of like files that are not being used. But you find at times you have scenarios where you need like these files. Maybe you are making a kind of a music application and you need to have these music files in that app. So at times you cannot prevent yourself, but you can have ways to like mitigate that kind of a situation. You can even have like files uploaded to a kind of a server where the user downloads them after immediately they install the app, you download those files. Just to make sure that your download size for your APK stays at minimum, at the most minimum rate that you can achieve. So another thing that was introduced, we have bundle. I think maybe in case you have not heard about it, it's a new publishing format. So on Play Store, it accepts like two kind of things. We have the APK and we have the app bundle. So app bundle was introduced in, I think, 2017, 2018. It's a new publishing format, and these are to highlight some of the benefits. You stop managing multiple APKs. So by this, previously, so in case you had like a multiple APKs, you had to like manage them on their own. And in case you, let's say you have devices targeting times 86 architecture and 64-bit, that is 32-bit and 64-bit architecture. So that is, you had to like do those multiple APKs. But for app bundles, you just upload one single app bundle. And depending on the device specification, it will download like all those components that are key to that device. So in case like the app like the bundle can be 6 MB, but for a particular phone, it finds like I only need like to download this 2 MB from this app. So that helps you a lot. We also have benefit from a smaller app in terms of size. So I find like it can reduce by 20% in case you 20%, which is a very large number in case you choose to shift from APK to app bundle. And then we have delivery features on demand and not on install. We have this thing PlayStore introduced, or the Google team introduced, which is called dynamic delivery, where you deliver your app in terms of module. Let's say you have a settings module, you have a home module, and you have a out module. So in case of bundling all those modules at once in your app, you can deliver them on demand. Let's say because the first time the user is installing your app, they do not need like the out mode, not the out, the settings module. So you can say, I'll just have this app containing the home and out module, and then the settings module they can download later when they need that module. So that is what we call dynamic delivery. So it helps you like reduce your app size also, because you have a full settings module with all the things that go into settings, not included on app install, but they'll be requested later. And then lastly, it enables modules to run instantly without install. So we have this thing that was introduced also a while, which is called instant run, which I see most of the games trying them, where you you have like, you can try out a game without having to like first install your application. Yeah, so so app bundles also, like it enable like you to just configure a module to be an instant module where users can just try that module without necessarily like installing your app and such thing. So they can just try how this app is, maybe a single module. You can say, let's say we have a food delivery application. Maybe you need people to view like what food are available without even like installing your application. So you can configure that module to be an instant module without users having to like install. So those are some of the benefits, and I think nowadays this is the most preferred format, which is a lot easier for you to like publish your app. So another thing, we have a crash reporting library. So at times, once you're releasing your application, you need to there is no way, once you're debugging, in case you get a crash like the one we have on the screen, at least you can see from the log cut of Android Studio, we have error at this line and this file. But in case you have released your application, you don't have a way of asking people to connect it to your machine, and so that you can see like the exact place where you have the error. So this is where you add a crash reporting library. And the one I've used, we have Crashlytics, which was a product by Fabric but was acquired by Google, so it's under Firebase nowadays, and it works very well. I'm also going to show you the dashboard for this in a few. And then one thing I usually recommend, we have logs, and logs, you use logs for debugging most of the times. So for release build, just make sure like you disable these logs, because in case you're logging like a response from the server, someone can, from that response, can just deduce what is trying to happen, even if you have enabled like code shrinking and all that. So just make sure like you disable logging while on release build. And it's just as simple as this. You can just get build config and debug. That's when so for Timber, in case it's just a logging library, so it enables you can just say timber.plant. So for this, logs will only show on debug build, but for release build, you can no longer have those logs, for which it's just a key thing that you have to do. So I'll recommend this kind of approach, because you find like at times you have a lot of logs which you can not like track all of them in your single application. So to make like life easier for you, just like use something like this where you just enable at one point, and then you're sure all your release build are not going to be having like the logs. And then we have making your app like speak several languages. So at times, in case your app is targeting beyond Kenya and other languages, just make it so that like in case like someone is speaking Spanish, it can just be able to like translate those languages. So you do this on the strings by just defining, in case you have like hello world as a string in your XML file, you just have another equivalent string hello world in either language that you want. So this just makes your app to be usable in a couple of countries that you're releasing to, because not everyone is like a native English speaker, or maybe you can be having your app in Swahili and not everyone is a native Swahili speaker. So it's always advisable to just make your app speak several languages. I know this is usually like a trouble, because for instance, if you translate every word by word to Spanish, words can lose meaning. So what people usually recommend, if you have like the muscle and the resources, you can even having someone speaking Spanish doing the translation for you, so that you cannot lose the meaning for some of the words that you are saying in your app. That is the only thing I know. Like at times, once you translate like word by word, they can lose meaning. So you have to like find a native speaker who can maybe tell you, by the way you have translated this, there is an error in this, or it is correct in this way. Yeah, so another thing in the checklist, we have beta error messages. So when you're debugging, it's very easy to find yourself just getting the messages plain as they are, maybe like unable to pass JSON response if you're doing a network call. So once you display this to the users, it's kind of techish, and maybe they cannot know how to go out, maybe they cannot know what exactly went wrong. So once you are doing like a release, I always like make sure like I do something like, oops, something went wrong. But internally, just have like a logging system where you have, in case something like this happens, you can be able, so maybe a user can call and maybe I was using your app and it just told me, oops, something went wrong. So you can just go on your logs and check what exactly went wrong. But in case you just display these kind of messages, it kind of drives users away who are not like that technical. Maybe for a developer, they can understand, yeah, I'm trying to pass a wrong gist. The app is trying to pass the wrong JSON response, but maybe for non-tech users, they'll just get lost by these words. And then one thing on the checklist also is just make sure you test your app on different OS version and different device sizes. So why I'll say OS version is because we have a lot of, every year Google releases like a new Android version. So this year they're releasing Android 11, and with every version come a lot of changes, and the changes, maybe this is what is called like fragmentation for the different Android version. So you'll find like if we start from an 5.0 to 6.0, that is marshmallow. That's when they introduce like runtime permissions. Then on 7.0 they introduce something we call DOS mode. 8.0, a bit of background processes restriction. Then Android 10, which is, I think we have 9, we have 10. They introduced like scoped storage, and 11 we have another new features. So you can be having like your app working well in version 5.0, but once you test in on the latest version of Android, because of something that was introduced there, you find that it is not like working. So to be able like to capture all these things, you can just like make sure like you have a couple of devices to test with, so that you can be able to capture like all these situations instead of, for example, if you're developing for Android Lollipop, where we do not have like runtime permissions, and you give your app which requires like some permissions to someone using Android 7, 8, or 9. So you'll find like the app crashes because you have not requested like for those permissions. So to avoid like such scenarios, you just have to test with those devices and make sure it is working on those devices, so that you can be able to like ship to production. The good thing is at times we have like test lab where you can just deploy your app, it tests on the different devices, and then give you like a snapshot of how your app is faring on all those devices of Android. And also the bad thing with having to manage all these like OS version is you'll have to write like code specific for each version at times. So like for permissions, you have to write code specific permission request for 5.0, which is different to Android 6.0, of which it's something we have to like do without like having to complain about, because it's how the ecosystem is. We also have different device sizes. So the reason for testing this is so that you can be able to know, are my layouts that responsive on small screens, large screens, and medium screens? Because at times, for maybe you can find like your app, some of the buttons are not visible, or some of the text is not visible going from a to smaller screen. So it just helps you, once you test on this variety of devices, the more your app is kind of stable, and the more you are able to identify these issues before like your users can identify them. And then test your app from a security perspective. So security is where you make sure like all your, maybe your API keys are safe, maybe your app is safe from attacks, etc. So you have like to test your app in this perspective, and to make sure like even if someone reverse engineers your app, they cannot like get like all your code and maybe do the same application and release to Play Store. Yeah, so you have to do like this and maybe ensure like even if someone does anything, your app is very secure, just to prevent like compromising the security of the user, because as we're going to find out later on, security of the user is very paramount when you're releasing your application to Play Store. We have policies that protect the user against such cases. And then I think this is the second last point. You have to provide a proper feedback channel where in case a user encounters a problem, they can get back to you. Maybe you can add an email support on the phone. You can add a form on the phone also, some kind of the same thing, so that users can quickly give you feedback. So we have this thing, performing like an in-depth performance audit. We have what we call a profiler. This is an example of how a profiler looks like in Android Studio. So this enables you to see how your application fares in terms of CPU usage, memory usage, network usage, and also energy usage. So these kind of things, and as you can see, like at least it will give you like most areas that have a pain points, so that you can address them before like you even release your application. So in terms of CPU and memory usage, you remember like these devices, at most in case like you're targeting the African market mostly, you find like users have phones with which do not have like higher features, like higher memory, higher CPU. So at times you'll find in case you develop a CPU intensive application and a memory intensive application, you will cause issues to these like users. And once it causes issues to these users, what they do is simply uninstall your application, and which is very bad when you just have an application where people keep on and installing your app. So we have the profiler, which you can just drop your APK. It gives you all this analysis according to how the app is being used. Yeah, I think that was the last point. So before we get started on how to release, I'll just go to Firebase and show you a couple of things that I mentioned. So I think Firebase is usually a very useful platform, and most of these features are for free. So you see we have like this analytics. Once you like pop in directly, like we have daily users and your retention rate, these kind of things. And then quality, this just analyzes your crash free users and all that. And we also have grow. So I'm mostly interested in two things here. I'll start with Crashlytics, as I was telling you. So you can see like this is the crash free statistics, and it gives you like, yeah, your app is at 94%, which is not that bad. And we also have crashes, users affected, etc. And then, yeah. So once you click like to a specific, let's say we have this one which is open. So as you see, it acts like a normal, like you see the way your logcat behaves on Android Studio, that's how like Crashlytics works. So you have the writes activity, and then this is with the exact exception, and this is like a full logcat. So in case someone tells you your app, the app is crashing, you can just quickly come here, check these details, and know how to resolve. It also provides additional details like device. We have here, here's the data. We have like the brand is Techno. We have model, portrait, the RAM, just to help you like in case it's something like does something that has to do with memory or RAM, etc., you can easily cross-check. So you can see we have all those details, even the operating system, so that you can know this is the operating system that the OS is, that the app is crashing on. So we have one thing apart from crashes, which are called non-fatals. So as you remember, as I was saying, in case you have like, it's good to log in case maybe something went wrong on the user side. It's good to also log this. So they come also in this line. As you can see, we have non-fatals. So these are not critical issues. So, but they are just maybe in case someone encountered a 404 in your app, or maybe something which you don't expect them to encounter. And you can see, once you can see we have a SSL exception. So this means they didn't have like internet connection, etc. So you can also like customize the logs you want to see, so that you can be getting this kind of reports, so that in case someone like tells you their app is having issues, you can come to Firebase and quickly like have an overlook and see what exactly went wrong, without having to like disturb them or having to tell them, give me your app for me to test. And then we have performance. So performance just analyzes the performance for your application and gives you like everything. So as you can see, I'm being given some warnings here. We have slow rendering screen. Those are the screens that are maybe having some issues. And we have network success rate, which is at 40%. So you can see we have latency. So you kind of have like a full overview of how your application is performing, and you can be able to like improve. So in case like maybe this is a bit low and you want to improve this network success rate, you can work on something. In case you want to improve the rendering of the screen, you can also work on it. And then we have we have a lot of things, but I'll just maybe focus on yeah. So, and then there is a dashboard. So dashboard will give you like the analytics in case you added the analytics library. Yeah. So after that, you have like a checklist, which is you have like your checklists done. You have your checklist done. So let's see, how do you release your application, or where was it? Yeah. Let's see how you release your application. So so you have done like, you have already optimized your application for release. So let's just get started on maybe releasing your application. So these steps are, we have something they introduced, which is console beta, where they are kind of trying to improve the UI. So these steps are using the beta version of PlayStore, which will be released once like everything is fine. So the first thing, you create a developer account, which is around $25 after, because that is in case you don't have a developer account, you cannot be able to access like the Google Play console. So these steps we have, I'll just go, you select create an app, where you say app name. This is the app name that will appear on Google Play, default language. We have to specify, is your application or an application or a game, because on Play Store you can upload either an app or a game. And then free or paid. And one thing with option C and D, once you set them at the beginning, you cannot like undo them unless you just publish the app again. So free or paid is where, in case you want users to pay for your app or to pay to access your app. So that is where you specify that your app is paid. I'm going to come to how you set maybe application to be paid. And we have a couple of declarations, which I'll just saying you accept to terms of Google and the policies, etc. So from this part, I'm just going to show you with the, so this is the console dashboard. So as you can see, I said this is Google Play Console Beta. Yeah, so this is, they're kind of trying to improve the UI of the application and all that. So that's why you see like it is looking more materialish and that kind of a thing. So most of these steps are similar for the old version of Play, only that they improve like a couple of things. So I had this application which I was testing today. So as you can see, get started by setting up your app. So we have the initial setup, and you can see they have previously these tasks were not grouped. So I'll just go explaining each task. We have app access. So this is where you just define like which as you can see, is all your functionality, your app required with any special kind of access, you define it right there. And then, so that is the first thing. You have ads. This is where you specify, is your app showing some ads, or is it not showing? Another thing is content rating. So content rating, you just fill a questionnaire. If I can just, you cannot be able to fill a questionnaire without like, so content rating is where you fill a questionnaire. Maybe the questionnaire is usually like, does this app share user data? Does it contain does it promote like drug or substance abuse? Those kind of questions. And then once you finalize on this, they give you like a rating. Once you go to Google Play, yes.
Harun, I think I can see the console on my end.
Oh, you cannot see console?
Yeah.
Oh, sorry for that. Let me try to share. Thank you for that. Can you now see?
No.
No.
Yes.
Can you leave and join again?
Me? Let me just try
No.
like...
The guy who's saying cannot.
Or is there anyone having the same trouble?
I'm able to see, I think, all your screen. That's the console on you showing right. Oh no, that's the speaker deck. Can you go to the console? Window console?
I'm on console right now.
Yeah, I can see console. So maybe you can leave and join again.
I've seen it.
Oh, okay.
Okay,
Maybe
awesome. Oh, thank you.
So maybe to just like kind of fast, maybe bring them forward and faster. I said this is a beta version. As you can see, it is labeled beta. I don't know if I have an, but most of these things, the only thing that they did is kind of simplify the information to. So like for this, you had like this, they group the steps to related steps, and then to make just your work, you see like it's in a one step. There previously they just had like a checklist, which is here. You can see content, then store listing, and then kind of, I don't know if there is a way I can, yes, yeah. So let us just use classic console for now. So you see like it's kind of different. And then we go to this application here. And yeah, that is our dashboard. And then we have app releases. So you can see we have these things which are labeled gray. Once you fill everything, it becomes, what do we say? Green. It turns to green, just showing you that you have done everything. So the first thing, we have releases. Should I start with releases, or should I start with, yeah, we have releases. We have production, we have beta, we have alpha, we have internal test, and internal app sharing. So as you are releasing your application, I'll start with the highest. So production is where your application is available to everyone on PlayStore, depending on the kind of countries that you have specified. Because as we shall see, you can specify the number of countries to your app to go live to. So yeah, so this is available to like general the public. We have a beta one. This is like, beta is available to the public, but they have to like opt in. Kind of, they have to give consent that, yeah, they are installing an application which is on development and can kind of have like issues, etc. We also have an alpha track where you have the app is only available to when you share like your link to other people. So these are maybe my alpha and internal test. So internal test is limited to 100 people, where you add their emails. Once you like go to here, manage, you add their emails. I'll just manage something that I have uploaded an APK. So for the alpha part, alpha and internal, they are only available with people with the link, and internal adds it to a level higher where you just add a group of testers with their emails, then you share the link with them and they can be able to like they can be able to like install your app. So I'll always recommend you start with the internal test. That's the first thing we do at Apps Lab. The app has to be at internal test first before everything else. This is because it helps you like identify most of these issues before releasing your application. At least you can even add the client to the internal test. They can even test before you release like everything. So this helps you avoid a lot of one-star ratings. I'm still going to come there to one-star ratings and all that. Yeah, so and internal test, after you are done with the internal test, just promote it to alpha because it's still a closed track, but you need like more than 100 testers in case like your application is that huge. And then after you're done with alpha, go to beta, which is available to the general public, but they have to opt in, meaning they have to give like consent they are using an application which can be unstable. And then we have the production, which is the final one. The good thing with this, you can even have your app in internal test, and once you're given the green light by whoever is managing the app or whoever is testing the app, you can just promote it to, so an internal can be promoted to alpha, alpha can be promoted to beta, and beta can be promoted to production, or simply you can just create a production release. We'll see like how to create a release. So this that I'll mark here are the key important. We have store listing. So I'll go to store listing. So here is where you specify your title, short description, and full description, and then graphic assets. We have a icon. You have to tell like a designer to design you a specifically 512 by 512 icon, which is a PNG. Anything other than that will be rejected. We also have screenshots. Yeah, you have to upload like your screenshots here. They require at least one phone screenshots. And so on screenshots, I usually emphasize more on screenshots because for me, before even like install an application, let me just, once I go to Google Play, before I even like install an application, let's say we'll go to this application. This is a game. So before I even install, I'll just come quickly to this section where we have graphic assets. And in case I find like the screenshots are not really descriptive of or I find the UI a bit shaky or the functionality a bit shaky, I will not install the application. So you also have to keep that in mind. Once you're capturing the screenshot, just capture like, what is that thing that this app is doing that the user might be interested in. Some users are very like selective. They won't just install any app. Actually, no one installs just any apps nowadays. So in case it is an app, they have to be really convinced, and this is your chance to convincing them to install your application. So you have like to make sure like your screenshots are really not perfect, but you can try. And speaking of that, I have a resource here. I hope I'll get to it quick. Yes. So once you check like apps like Airbnb and etc, they have this kind of frames, and we have this kind of templates. So let's say we have Airbnb. So yes, so in case you're like me, I'm not a designer, and let's say you don't have like a quick access to a designer, you can just come and select this template. You can see, you can add your screenshot there, and they'll be just exactly like that, just to create that designer feel. You can see even captions. Let's say this is a test caption. I hope it appears here. That is a test caption. And then after the test caption, there is the sub caption and all that. Background images, you can see, you can choose whether you want a Pixel device, whether you want a Samsung device, whether you want a Nexus device. And then here is where your screenshots, the same. And then let me see how on this link, how I just want to see. There is a way you add screenshots. I hope I have a screenshot. So I'll just go to this one. Yeah, I have. So let's say that is a screenshot and then just upload it. So you see how it exactly cuts it that way. So you can choose, like, we have a lot of templates. These guys really did an amazing job in doing this. You have Airbnb, Blink. So whichever that you choose to quickly get started, you can select. So this, although if you look at the screenshot guidelines for Google Play, they highly discourage something like this, but the industry is going to things like this. So you can try them as long as you don't hide like the content. I'll prefer like something like this or the same. Yeah, this is just a way to entice users to install your application on this section. We also have a feature graphic. So this feature graphic, as you can see, the first thing you see on Play Store, this is like either a video or a very large kind of a banner image. So you also have to tell your designer to just design, or maybe just come. For me, what I usually do, in case like the designer, I just want to create a release, I just create custom ones, and then I'll just tell the designer to come up with them later on. So we have application type, the one I said. So in the new console, you choose it before even coming to this area. We have a category. So this is where your app is categorized at. You have to simply select. So we have this content rating. It is applied once you fill the questionnaire I was talking about. We can provide a website and also an email where users can maybe get support directly, and a phone number. Yes, that is the first thing. After you're done, you fill the content rating. So one thing with content rating, it's a questionnaire. I'll just pull up another one, but you have to kind of upload the APK first so that you can be able to apply content rating. So that's why it's grayed out. I cannot continue. Then app content, similar to the other one I highlighted, but yeah, privacy policy. So it's very important you provide a privacy policy. Otherwise, your app will be suspended if you don't have a privacy policy. So privacy policy is where you say, this is what I'm doing with your app, with my app, and yeah, agree to it or disagree to it. I'm very, like, in case I don't have a privacy policy, I can even say www.appsub.co.ke, but please don't do that. Just have a privacy policy so that in case anything goes south, you have a privacy policy. Ads, app access, and then content ratings, as I said, target audience. So we have target audience, which is something you have to be keen about. And this is because Google tries very much to protect people who are underage. So you have to, like, as you can see, I cannot fill like this section before I fill the other sections. But this target audience, you simply define, is my app going to target 18 and above or 18 and below? So 18 above, you are very safe. You don't have like a lot of things to worry about, but 18 and below, you have to make sure that your app is suitable for those people who are 18 and below. It does not contain any sexual content or any content that can be considered harmful. And the bad thing is, it's Google determining what is harmful for the children, not you. So in case you might be wanting to do something with, maybe it's educational wise and it's something provocative, so they can literally ban your app without you having to do anything. Then we have pricing and distribution. As I said, you select, is your app paid or free? And then we have, so at times, let's say your app heavily relies on something that is available in Albania. So you can say it's only available in Albania, and then just publish in Albania. Simply as that. So in case you want it to be available to all countries, you select it just that way. In case there are some countries you don't want it to be available, like maybe I don't want it to be available in Bahamas, you just come and do that, and it will not be available in that. So this is the case for where, let's say, you are doing M-Pesa payments. and your app relies heavily on that, and M-Pesa is only available in Kenya, you can just specify your application is available in Kenya, instead of having to tell those users, come to Kenya and you will be able to access this app. Because as I will come to that, I'm sorry, the session is taking a bit of time, but yeah, let me just go through over everything that I had prepared. So I was saying, instead of app users are very funny. You can find maybe someone found that I cannot be able to pay in that application. They'll just give you a 1-star review. They are not like developers. In case I'm a developer and I test your application, I cannot be able to use a certain feature, I'll be understandable to you. But users can even, let's say you have I'll show you an example of this, of how you can get even 1-star review for doing something, for maybe something that the user wants and it's not available in your app. So after you're done with that, we have app releases. This is just comes. So we have app releases, which is, yeah, I already mentioned this. So those are the key things you have to, all this, you have to like kind of deal with them once you're releasing your application. In case you don't, the first time, so once you fill all of this, you're good to go. The only place you'll be interacting with later is what do we call it? I'll just show you an example of a release. And as you can see, the PlayStore console has other KPIs, maybe new users acquired, users lost, average rating, crashes, etc, etc, which is, you can use this one or the Firebase one. It's kind of the same company, but I prefer having Firebase since you can just get a lot of things. Yeah, it can even show you top countries where users have been acquired. So we have this release management. As you can see, I'll just go to app releases, and you can see we have a production, we have internal testing. So once you go to like an internal testing, you can see you have these testers where you add them by email, etc, and then you have this link where you just copy and give the one you want for them to test. So creating a release is as simple as just creating that button. You upload your file. It can be, as I said earlier, app bundle or APK. Then this name will be automatically picked from your app bundle since you just set the name. And then we have what's new in this release, of which you find a lot of like developers saying just bug fixes here, of which like it's very like for users, just bug fixes. You find like a lot of people doing this, just listing bug fixes and all that, but just try and detail what you are, maybe in case you are doing UI improvement, just try to detail them. At least someone can just see what's new in your app. And then, yes, so we also have one thing I would like to quickly mention. We have what we call app signing. So app signing, so before you like upload either your APK or app bundle to Play Store, you have to like sign your APK. By signing is where you just like sign it digitally with a certificate, where you give it a key and maybe, yeah. So previously, or pre-2018, let me say pre-2018, you, once you like lose that certificate, that's the end of it. You cannot update. So once you like sign an app with a certain certificate, you have to, for future updates, you have to use that certificate. So in case like you lose that certificate, you cannot be able to like, access that certificate or kind of that thing. Yeah, so no, you cannot be able to update that application. So what they did, they introduced app signing, where you can, they have their own signing and you have your own signing here, which you uploaded here, and you can just download the certificate and maybe publish your application as it is. Yeah, so that is one thing I feel like it is a very nice improvement. So that was just the process of uploading your app to Play Store. I'll just continue with my slides here. As I said, the process is the same. even with the new console, just that with the new console, they just analyzed how people are using the console and made things better. And then we can, if you follow like all the steps above, you successfully publish your app, and but you can't sit back and relax just yet. So it's funny thing that once you release your application, that is when like work has just begun. Yes, there is the development part and the release part, but yeah, there is after release. So here I'm just going to cover a bit of things to do maybe after you have released your application, which I've found like necessary over my few years of developing. So we have A and B testing. So A and B testing is where like you want to, let's say we have a button which was previously not round and you want to just make it a round button. You can develop a version of your app with that round button and test it with a couple of users to see like, are they liking when the app is the round button or are they not liking it? So before you even like go to the production. So that is what simply we call A/B testing. So as even you can even test like app icon in case you just want to improve your app icon to be some fancy kind of thing. And do you want to, so this A/B testing is where you have a group of users to test whether your changes are going to be viable or not. That is after release. So you have app working this way or design has being this way, and you want like guys to test it before you release to the other production. So A/B testing helps in that. Another thing, we have the merchant account. So this was introduced back then, maybe, I'm not sure, maybe 2017, 2018 timeline. So previously we could not be able to like publish paid apps or publish apps that users can buy. But right now we can do that. And after you just have an account, you can just come here. Yeah, so you can see my merchant account is active. In case you don't have it, it will just show you a couple of steps to activate your merchant account. And once you go to your merchant account, yeah, this is like, it has an activity, payment method, subscription, blah, 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 blah. So I think it's something you can just play around with it. You can even have like an app being bought at 10 bob and just do it for test, and you might be surprised even 1,000 people buys it. So 1,000 people times 10 bob, that is 10,000, of which is not that bad of a money. So you can also set up a merchant account where you can publish paid application. So we have reviews. Yes, I've mentioned reviews a lot. And I feel it's an important thing, which maybe if you overlook, maybe as a developer, as a company, it can come to maybe bite you later on. Because mostly, in case after screenshots, maybe I've looked at the screenshot and the app is impressive, the next thing people go is to read what are the reviews maybe users are having. And in case I get like a lot of negative reviews, again, people might not install your app. So it's something worth checking. Yeah, so that is a 1-star review. I hope I've ever gotten a couple of them. Yeah, you get, and at times you're shocked, at times you just be able to. So here is someone who never thought like their app will receive like this 1-star review, because there's the thing, once you're developing, we have this thing like, I'll borrow it from rappers where they say they are the best. So once you're developing an app, you feel like I'm the best developer outside there. Then you publish it to the PlayStore, and then you get like a 1-star review. It's not a lot of people usually like these 1-star reviews because they mean like your app is very bad. So at times you can even cry, at times whatever you do to like get a hang of the stress. And then, so this is how to deal with 1-star review. I have a case study. So we have like this person. So this case study, so we have like this person. So this is I'm starting with the solution. So yeah, so nothing works except vote and donate. So as you can see, this is a very bad review. So in case another user just comes, this is, let's say you have a taxi ordering application and you have someone saying nothing works except for vote and donate. So meaning your app only works when people have to vote or have to donate for you. So the first thing you do, don't just like go rude on them. So this is a case study. You can just thank you for your feedback. I've created a virtual device around your Dura Surface Pro specs, and I've tried to reproduce your issues. Then tell them to try the latest version, and hopefully that version works better for them. So you see how you handle these reviews. You just don't come and tell it. You just don't say it works on my machine. Yeah, a lot of people can say that, yeah, this app was working on my phone. I'm not sure why it's not working on you. So as a review, you cannot just go telling users this app works on my phone, and I'm not sure why it doesn't work on your phone, and maybe go all the way offensive, or don't try to be defensive on your work. Just allow critics and just test and see if that you can reproduce that issue, and tell them that you fix them on later like releases. What this does is that in case other users come and find that kind of a conversation, they'll easily trust you as a developer of that application, because they'll see, in case I have this issue, I'll easily get support. And in this world, in 2020, people are looking at how they get support more than anything else. In case I cannot easily get support, then I can just say that I'm not interested in that app. So once you like leave those reviews unanswered, people will just not install your app because of those one-star reviews. So I usually try to review answer all those, and just make sure you thank them and tell them, yeah, I've seen your issue, we have tested. So I'll just show you another example here. At we ever got that kind of a review. That is a one-star, and it's because Letterfood is an application which works. It was currently working in Eldoret, and we have this user who is in Nakuru and wants to order food in Nakuru, and we cannot provide food there. So you know what that user does? They give you a one-star, and that is not something you can. It's simply because you're not like in that area. It's not something like you can control, but the user cannot understand. So that's why I'm telling you, at times make sure you yeah. So this is like the specific case you so it's not ready for the masses. You see, they give you like a one star, and this one star, it's not something like you who is the problem. It's just like operational wise or business wise, that was not viable at the time. But you just have to thank them and tell them, yeah, we are sorry for your disappointment, but we're going to like act on that and maybe notify you once we are ready. So just simply don't like leave those reviews at that. So in case someone comes and finds this kind of a reply, they'll easily attach to your product or to your application. Yes, so that is a bit of handling the reviews. And then we have suspensions and account banning. So this is a very serious issue. You get up suspended. Like, again, I have a lot of, so you can see this application. This is a Witobill. It was a call application. As once you can see it, you can see like we have, the app has been removed because of violating user data policy. So nowadays, people get these kind of things a lot, where you have your app removed or your account being banned. And this is due to maybe, yeah, you might ask yourself why at times, once you like don't understand why your application is being removed or your account is being banned. One thing is follow all Google Play Store policies to the letter. And here are some of the things I can highlight, which usually bring a lot of controversies. And for maybe in case you are new to publishing Play Store, this is something like I usually recommend. We have calls stroke SMS permissions. As you are aware right now, you cannot publish an app that accesses users' SMS or call logs, or maybe the call. So in case like you publish an app that has that permission, without even like further reviewing, your application is removed. And this is something like I find most people are not very keen about. You can find a client wanting like, I want like an app that reads like SMS like branch, etc, etc, and so on. But you have to, in case what they did is, in case your app like requires that specific use case, you have to like fill a form, of which I usually say this form is not for all people. At times, in case you don't have like the numbers to show that, you cannot be given like such authority. But in case your app needs like these permissions, you have to like fill that form, and yeah, let them give you that access. But in case you have not filled that form, they'll flag your app, and in case you insist, they'll ban your account. So by banning your account, what that means, in case you have never had an account ban, it means that you cannot publish anything on that account, and you cannot even access that account. And they kind of try to monitor. Let's say I'm in Kikuyu right now, let's say specific in the house I am in, and we are maybe 4 of us or 2 of us. In case someone tries to like create an account in that same locality, at times they even go to that level where you cannot create another account like in that locality. And this means in case you had like an app with 2 million downloads and your app and your account has been banned, you can no longer update that app, you can no longer access that app, and so on and so on. So it's something to watch out for, and maybe just follow, maybe check out on these policies. We have content type. At times, as I said, this applies when you are designing app for families. You have to be very keen on content type in case it even contains. Recently, due to these COVID-19 situations, in case even your app contains the word COVID in either the description, name, etc., your account can be banned or your app can be suspended. So that applies to the content type. We also have data-related policies. In case you're targeting like all countries, that is even Europe and US, you have to be a little bit GDPR compliant, and make sure that in case you are accessing either any user data, just tell them I'm accessing this data. In case you want to like you want to request for it, you can request it at any time. And then target audience, as I said, app meant for families and children. The review is a bit stricter and a bit longer. It takes even maybe a week or so. You also have a famous area about ads. I usually get a lot of people being mad because of maybe ads and maybe issues with their payment account, etc. So it's policies you have to just check on what policies they have. Another new one in the house, we have background location permission. So right now, beginning from Android 11, you cannot access location on background. And in case your app really requires to access maybe background location, you have to fill a form similar to the call and SMS permission. In case you don't, your app is flagged. So yeah, make sure you follow up with that. And we have impersonation and intellectual properties. In case you copy someone else's work, your app can be banned, account can be suspended. You have privacy, data security, and deception. So on privacy, as you can see nowadays, Google is treating like users a first-class thing, and user privacy is paramount. So we have like a lot of things to ensure that these apps are secure and we don't have users being compromised or their data being compromised. So in case you're doing something fishy, etc., you'll find your app being banned or being removed from PlayStore, which it's a pain. At times you can even lack a privacy policy URL. As I said earlier, in case they just decide to check what your privacy policy is, and they lack it, your app, maybe you have like even 2 million downloads and your account is suspended. It's usually a pain because, to be honest, we have released like a couple of apps, and even to reach even 100 downloads at times is a struggle because you have to promote your app. So you can imagine you have like a 2 million downloads and you have your account suspended. The pain is even much more. So just these are kind of policies to watch out for. And the good thing, once you go to this section here, not that one. So we have this section here. We have the policy center. So maybe after you have published the first time, yeah, let me just use this one. kind of different, but they, on this here, we have like all their policies listed where you can just read about them. So it's always good to read about them so that you can know. Yeah, this one is, so we have restricted content, impersonation. So we have like, they have detailed them here. So you have to like just go through them and make sure like you are familiar with them. After you have gone through them, we have like what we call a newsletter. A newsletter where monthly they, in case they have updated their policies, you can get notified. So as you can see, let me just try to see. So as you can see, it's always good, maybe in case you cannot keep up with reading this new thing, just sign up to their mailing list where they can, as you can see, introducing Google Play Console Beta. What else is new on Google Play? And then Android 11 update. Yes, and they even tell you what action you have to do, what resources you can have, and yeah. So this is like a good thing to just subscribe so that as in case you're even developing apps, you can even be aware. I find a lot of developers not aware of this, like permissions and policies, because they really drive the way you develop your apps. In case you violate them, you risk like a full account being banned or an app being suspended. So you just subscribe and read them. Other subscription, as you can see, just right here, we have updates. So at times, in case you just publish an update and you just want to be notified that update is live, you can subscribe to such emails where you can receive, yeah, this update is live, and you can maybe just check. So that is all about policies, and yeah, other things to do. We have set up continuous integration and deployment on PlayStore. So PlayStore allows you to kind of set up, in case you have your application, maybe you have a master branch, you want to, once like everything is deployed, push to master branch, build an APK, and then upload to PlayStore in case of having to, because once you first release, the other releases are not, it's just you create a release, add the release notes, and just like that. So you can even set like something to help you do this in case you are a person who want to fully automate things. Logs and analytics, I already showed you on Firebase. So this helps you to just kind of know users' journey in times of tracking errors. And then make your app accessible and write test. So on accessible, I'll show you something. Right now, people are being sued on because in case your app is not accessible. So it's something like you have to make sure you deal with it, because accessibility, maybe I can have eyesight problems or something of the sort, and then yeah, people can even sue you in case your app is not like easily accessible. I'm trying to see where do they get like those tips, as like this is a full tool where you can do most of the things. I'm not sure where I got that last time, but there is a section where it gives you even issues. So you can even see like your app size and then compare it to what competitors and kind of the same. I'm trying to get something. So maybe let me see, user acquisition reports, promotion. If It's hard to times two. So about accessibility, I'll just say like we have a report which is called a launch report, where you get like how they have tested your application and what issues they have seen. So I think it's something like you can just check about. It usually comes as soon as you publish an application. I cannot be able to locate it right now because of I guess I'll just but it's something. It even shows you that this text is not visible on these phones, etc, etc. So it's something worth checking. Yeah, those are a couple of useful things. So those are a couple of useful links, and yeah, I'll just share this presentation, and that is all about me. So we can quickly take the questions. Let me just share this presentation on the chat. But that is all about releasing your apps to Play Store. So in case you have a question, you can quickly ask. I'll go over the So I'll share the presentation. You can just check. I have like at the end, I have like all those useful links for you to check. We even have like a Play Store Academy where you can just be taught everything about console and publishing your application. So I see there was a question. Oh, my Twitter handle is @Wangereka Harun. You can just check it on the slides. And then what counts as excessive CPU memory usage? So at times, if in case you're doing a lot of background tasks and which maybe are very resource intensive, that usually counts as very excessive. Maybe a lot of network calls and maybe a lot of background tasks that you are doing for your app, that can count. So do you have any other question? So in case we don't, have a question, guys, you can check on the slides. Feel free to reach out in case you have anything to maybe detailing, maybe release, and you want to be helped out, you can reach out. But my last word is take care of the policies, because it's something that can really mess you up. And this, for me, I usually I read like these policies a lot, because in case you are dealing with release, like an entire organization account can be suspended, and that puts all your applications, clients and etc to risk. So it's something to check out and be aware of. And all those things that you do pre-release, I think once you do them more oftenly, they become easier. Actually, right now for me, like the first time, actually once you enable things like ProGuard, you can even take 2 days trying to solve those errors. I even shared on my links, you'll find a resource to help you like troubleshoot some of those ProGuard issues. Yeah, but those pre-release checklists, once you do them more oftenly, by the time you're publishing that application, you just know, like, I'll take this amount of hours to polish up this application, publish, then be done with it. The reason why I said the checklist is at times it counts in maybe the client wants an application to be live by Monday. So for those things, maybe let's say Monday next weekend, for me, as the way you detail that process, in case you are releasing the first application and you are very promising and you can tell them by Monday you'll have the application, it cannot work in case you have to do like all those things. Because apart from the first time you release an application, Google Play have to review your application. Google Play have to they have to also review your application, which can take to maybe at most 2 days. And due to right now, due to the whole situation in the world, it can even take more long. At times, we even have the first time application being reviewed for even 7 days and also. Yeah, so you have to have that in mind before you even promise of when the app will be live on Play Store. So that's all from me. Thank you guys for attending. See you same place next Saturday, same time. Thank you guys for attending.
Oh, thank you, Harun. It's over. You can leave.